folks, we're back live here once again on a Saturday at Netroots Nation here in the Charm City in Baltimore. A lot of important people here doing great work. This is, again, the largest progressive gathering annually in the country. This is the 22nd year of Netroots Nation. We're always thankful to be a part of it. We're joined now by the executive director of the Detention Watch Network, Silky Shaw. Silky, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Just fine. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Silky, tell us about the Detention Watch Network and a little bit about your work.
Yeah, so the Detention Watch Network is a national coalition. We are working to end the practice of immigrant detention in the United States. So on any given day, almost 40,000 people are detained because of their immigration status, awaiting a hearing on their case or awaiting deportation, and spend time in really squalid, horrible conditions. And many people even recently have died in detention. So a lot of our work is to try to shut down detention centers, shift policy to say, no, we don't need to treat immigrants this way. And we need to actually work against the prison industrial complex, work towards decarceration, both for all people and for immigrants.
40,000.
Yeah.
So a lot of people assume that we're talking about primarily those coming in south of the border and being Latinos. Is that true? Or are we talking about this is happening to a lot of immigrants whose nationalities we don't even know?
Yeah, it's immigrants across the country. So there are people who are living here in our communities who are targeted for detention and deportation, often through the criminal legal system. We have the largest prison system in the world, and oftentimes so many people are funneled into it, including immigrants. And those individuals who are racially profiled and targeted end up, sometimes they might have a criminal conviction, and then after they go through that proceeding, then they end up in immigrant detention. And so it's sort of double punishment, essentially. But you also have people who are asylum seekers, people who, it's really a range, people who are legal permanent residents who've been here for a long time, people who are undocumented, people who are visa holders. It's a huge range, and it includes people arriving at the border and also people currently living in the U.S.
Yeah. So is it kind of random too? Is there any rhyme or reason? It's just whoever they feel like going to get, they just
It's very arbitrary. That's the thing. Right. That's, the whole agenda of immigration and customs enforcement is to remove as many people as possible, but they make these very arbitrary decisions based on if they have a facility in the area, well, we're going to go look for somebody to target. And so there is no rhyme or reason to it. And what we believe is that people who are going through immigration proceedings can be at home in their communities with their families and not have to be in these really, really horrible conditions in immigrant detention centers, which are basically prisons and jails.
Yeah. And what you're saying is this really serves the benefit of the prison system, doesn't it?
Yeah,
does it serve any other benefit? Because what are you bringing people to justice for? What is it that what is the greater good?
Well, it's not about stopping harm. So the narrative that's constantly told to us is that immigration is a public safety issue. It's a national security issue. Those are lies. What we know is that immigration is about labor. It's about family. It's about seeking refuge. It's not about those things. And similarly, we know that the prison industrial complex, the system that we have, is meant for control. It's not actually to reduce harm, because so much harm takes place in these facilities, and harm isn't reduced with these systems. And instead, it's an extension of state control. And we see that for Black communities, for brown communities, for immigrants, for working class, poor communities.
What are some of you all's actions to try to stop this? How are you able to deal with it?
Well, we work with groups all across the country. So grassroots organizations, policy organizations, legal service providers, to say, actually, we want to shut down immigrant detention centers in our communities. And we work with people who are detained, who are often going on work strike or hunger strike to protest their conditions. And so a lot of what we're doing is trying to get states to pass bills to end detention, to stop collaborating with ICE, stop having ICE police collaborations that funnel more people into the system. And then at the federal level, we've been really calling for defunding ICE and Customs and Border Protection and moving away from this idea that immigration has to be about criminalization and militarization. Instead, really having those funds go to supporting people, and supporting people in the U.S. have so much money goes to the military, so much money goes to DHS, to Department of Homeland Security. What if that money went to, education, nutrition, all the other things?
He said something interesting. getting cities and local police, pardon me, not to collaborate with ICE.
Yeah.
So that would make a difference, you're saying.
And it has. I mean, and these are like sanctuary policies that we've seen really flourish. And now there's a challenge because there's so much backlash. But the reality is those sanctuary policies have actually stopped a lot of the deportations. We had the highest levels of formal deportations of community members under the Obama administration. And a lot of that started to go down when communities said, no, we're going to fight back and not let police target immigrant communities rampantly.
Yeah. But that's interesting, though, that they don't have to collaborate with ICE. So,
no, absolutely.
If they didn't, does that do anything to disable any of ICE's capabilities? In other words, do they need local municipalities to cooperate with them for them to do their job?
It makes it easier for them to do their job. And so this is like throwing a wrench in it. And the reality is ICE only exists to arrest, detain, and deport immigrants. That's the only purpose of the agency. And so from our perspective, the more we can do to limit ICE's reach, the better we can protect immigrant communities.
What would be the consequences if Trump were reelected?
I think one of the biggest challenges is that the Trump administration, what we've seen now is so much of the conversation is about the border and what's happening at the border. And the Biden administration has been incredibly disappointing around that and has actually followed a lot of Trump policies. But when you look at immigrants and communities now, there are a lot of protections. There's a lot of work that's been done. We recently got a win for temporary protected status for some 500,000 Haitians. It's incredible. And Trump is going to try to undo a lot of that. And Trump is also going to go back to those mass raids, right, where go into a community like in Mississippi, go into a community, arrest 600 immigrants, have them go to prison where their kids are just, their parents are gone. It completely decimates communities and do worksite raids. And so I think there is a lot of fear with the scale of what Trump is going to do and what that means for how we fight back.
Have you all been effective once people are detained, getting them out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been so much incredible work to defend people who are detained for deportation defense campaigns. I mean, I think it needs to be a combination of work we do both through legal service provision, but also campaigns to get people out. But then also we need to talk about systems. It has to be about going after the system as a whole, because if we there's only so much we can do when we're helping each individual, which we will do. And we will always do everything we can to protect our communities. But we actually have to say no more. We can't have this scale of people detained. It hurts our communities in so many ways. And people are dying in these facilities. It's so harmful. And then they're being deported back to countries they don't know, or they're experiencing harm there.
And again, we're talking about all age ranges, all genders too.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Is there disproportionality between women and men? Is it equal?
It's definitely more men, and it's definitely young men. And the thing what we've seen is that a lot of, when you look at some of the deaths in detention, it's men in their 30s having cardiac arrest, men, people having committing suicide, people really taking their own life because there's no indefinite detention. Is all indefinite. People don't know when they're going to be released. They don't know how they're going to get out. And sometimes people can spend months or years in facilities that have no outdoor space for them to go outside. And they're just stuck there in these really, really horrible conditions.
Why doesn't the mainstream media cover some of this?
Well, I think right now it's really hard because there's been so much dehumanization of immigrant communities, and both by the Republicans and by the Democrats, where there's mass social inequality and immigrants are a really easy scapegoat. So everyone's treating immigrants as a scapegoat in this context because there's been a manufactured crisis at the border. And instead of
that's
really
their only focus.
Yeah, that's their only focus.
That's right, because most people
they're dehumanizing them.
This is news. What you're sharing is news to a lot of people because everything only happens at the border.
And that's not true.
And you're talking about all nationalities, though.
All nationalities and in all our communities. I mean, it's wild to think so many people, and I think that's the thing, when people feel their loved ones being taken, when people feel their community members being targeted, they're willing to do more. But I think right now it's just a challenge because people are struggling so much and there's so much scarcity and there's so much social inequality that it's hard to do the work to care for our neighbors, to do the thing that we should do as a society.
We should do, for sure. How can people keep up with Detention Watch?
You can find us at detentionwatchnetwork.org, and we're on the social media platforms at Detention Watch. And, we work with groups all across the country. So if you're interested in getting involved, we can definitely connect you with some of the groups that we work with.
At some point, I'd like for us to talk more.
Yeah.
Maybe when we're seated.
I can give you my card.
Yeah, please. What's happening? I'm fine. Thank you, Silky. Bet. Folks, we just heard from Silky Shaw of the Detention Watch Network. We're now going to hear from the policy director. Come over here a little bit for me so you guys can. There you are right there. See yourself?
What's going on, y'all?
Hold on. Let me bring you up. Okay, go ahead. I think we got you now. Our brother is the policy director of the National LGBTQ Task Force and the Action Funds. You the policy director of both?
Allegedly. Yes, I am.
What's wrong? They won't let you be policy director?
No.
You
Yeah.
need me to call somebody?
Yes, I am.
How you are? Hi, Alan Morris is here, y'all. Where you from, man?
I'm originally from Texas.
Okay. So, how are things going with the task force?
It's going pretty good. I mean, this has been a very pivotal year, I feel like, for most of our communities. I mean, when you think of what's happening in Congress or just in various states, it's either LGBTQ issues or immigration issues, or anything healthcare based, right? So we've been trucking along, but it has been a hard year of constantly having to combat and fight in certain places and spaces.
And that's mostly on the state level?
I think it's in both. It's the state and federal, because something that we're seeing now is a lot of the state attacks are starting to pop up at the federal level, where now legislators are using the appropriations process to add on LGBTQ riders, saying that people can't get care, saying that they want to reduce salaries down to a dollar if they're trans. They're also trying to say that people can't celebrate Pride. It's multiple things happening at the federal level that started at state levels.
So clearly, the constitutional protections are still not there overall. Now we got Obergefell or whatever, we got marriage equality, but that's not it. So we don't have the protections of the other things you just named: healthcare, living wage, equal wage. Those are the games they're still able to play. And
we need federal non-discrimination protections that go beyond anything that we've ever seen.
The Senate and House, if they had the will and the numbers, they could do that.
Yeah, they could pass the Equality Act.
Right.
But even the Equality Act doesn't necessarily provide the overall protections, because something that we have to consider and think about is law can be in place, but then you also have places and spaces where people bend the law. So how can you correct them? Or how can you set something up where people don't want to create a space that doesn't serve folks, right? Which is often hard.
What would it mean to the LGBTQ movement if Trump were reelected?
Oh, we would be eradicated. Clearly, I'm still actively going through the sections on Project 2025, but there will be no Pride Month. There will be no protection as we see it now. There will be no marriage equality. We would literally, I mean, the only word that I keep thinking of is eradication.
What do we need to do to support? How can people support the task force?
Definitely go to our website. We can definitely use more donations. But I think more than anything, stay in contact with us. Sign up for our updates so you can understand what's really happening. And also, we need people to consider how they're showing up at the polls, right? Because something could be happening where oftentimes we see people where they're like, well, that doesn't touch me, right? But it can touch someone that you love. So when you're looking to the left and right and you're seeing, okay, these things are being introduced in Congress and in state legislators, that's going to impact my family member or someone that I love. So I'm going to make sure that I show up and vote for them.
You got issues on the ballot? Any ballot initiatives?
Not at the moment, but we are trying to work to in certain states and with other partner orgs to combat certain ballot measures that are coming up against us.
But any of those on the ballot so far in November? Do we have anything?
Not at the moment.
So that's cool. You stayed that for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
For a minute.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Alan Morris, policy director. His pronouns are he, his, and gladiator. My man. You right now, you keep leaving. That's why it's my
Thank
guests
you,
give me a hard
Reverend.
time. Yeah, man. It's good to see you, brother. So where are you based? Where you operate out of DC or what?
Yes, I am out of DC, unfortunately.
Ah!
Coming
Okay.
from Texas, of course, it is a little
Yeah, so it's not quite as hot.
Yeah.
All right. He, his, gladiator. I like that. I know you could do that.
Yeah.
I know you could do that with his phone. I'm gonna start doing it because he and his. What's your? But I'm he, his, him. But I'm gonna add a title to mine too, like
Yeah.
gladiator or something like that. These is pronouns, y'all. He, his, gladiator. That's what they are. Yeah, but you keep moving when I'm trying to get you to go, and you went to somebody else. I was ready to go to you next. Come on, y'all. I don't understand what the timidity is. Brittany,
Come on.
we're live here at Netroots. Here, that's the mic. Hope you know how to hold the mic. Okay. Everybody having a hard time.
We're live.
Y'all all right? So this is the panel. Y'all come close. You can be in the camera. See that camera right there? Come a little close. Come here, brother. He's got a whole pie. I don't know what's really going on here.
Whole sweet potato pie.
We got a little room, but y'all can just come in a little closer. Come in a little closer.
How close you want?
You see, just so you can see yourself. Brittany's all the way back there. Folks, this was the panel this morning in Netroots with the Community First Solutions team. We're actually streaming to Community First Facebook now,
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
even though the Community First people were trying to leave while I'm streaming on their own Facebook. I don't understand
We
that.
didn't know, we didn't know.
But I do that.
You do. Yes, you
I don't
do. Thank you
understand.
for doing that.
Brittany, it's hard. It's hard sometimes.
I know.
You
Wrangling
know,
cats.
we need to
I
talk.
get it.
We need to talk. You know.
We'll do it together.
Well, first of all, Brittany had the panel convened us this morning. Tell our audience, and we'll share hopefully we'll get the video and share the video even later with our audience on Facebook and Instagram. Tell us about the panel, how it came to be, and what you were trying to accomplish.
Right. So I am an organizer's organizer. I got my start in labor, and I was taught by folks who came out of the SEIU organizing shop, out of the teachers union, and I was introduced to organizing from a very disciplined place. And so I feel with the introduction of like digital tools and with COVID, we have really moved away and divested from the way that the organizing fundamentals. And so I really wanted to have a conversation about what organizing really looks like and understand the difference between organizing and movement building and how we build a movement that actually gets us to a place where we're achieving the change, the long-term systemic change that we deserve and desperately need. And I feel like we needed to have some more honest conversations about that. And there was no better panel of folks than the three you see standing here. So really just excited to have had that conversation from a really authentic place, especially in this moment where we are faced with, we're on a precipice, right? We're faced with a decision that will affect generations in a way that we may never be able to come back from. So excited to have been a part of it, excited to have been able to bring us together to have this conversation. Looking forward to doing it again next year.
So you asked us questions.
I
We were
did.
talking about organization, y'all, versus movement building. We didn't ask you. Share with us what distinction there is in your mind.
So for me, movement building is when you are moving towards a long-term purpose, right? It is building a foundation. You've already laid the groundwork. You have the relationships. You have the shared value system. You have the things that you need, and it is shifting systemic issues, right? With organizing, it is organizing to move and direct much shorter term change. Because I think when we think about organizing around workers' rights issues, we're addressing an attack on a bargaining unit. We're addressing a crisis that's happening. But movement building is much more about value systems and shifting people to a shared value system that actually restores dignity.
Kenyatta Esmara Gray is here, one of our other leaders. She was on the panel. She's the one who was trying to lead. Everybody else was patient and cool. And I was going to put her on right after the other guest I
Oh,
had,
my
Silky
goodness.
Shaw. Then she went to go take an interview with somebody else. And act like I was intruding on her time. When she just stood by before she went, that's my brother over there. That's cool. But
It was a Caribbean thing. Sorry.
would you like to expound on any of the topics we talked about today, organization and movement building?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I do want to just press upon us is the necessity to define words similarly. Someone mentioned about the struggle, the word struggle, and how the young person could not identify. And so that is a clue for us that we're not living in talking the same way, in the same space. So I think it's time for us, and it's vitally important for us to learn how to come up with shared language at the individual level. Right, because we are not the same Black people from 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So we've got to define those words. So a young person, a lot of people, let's be honest, I think a lot of us feel like we are in a space of good. We're good, right? We have cars, we can buy an iPhone at the drop of a dime, we can go on these vacations. So what is there really to struggle for? And so for our children and our young people coming up behind us, we really need to be clear about making and telling the story so that they're relatable. And that's just one of the things. We've got to get the shared language together, people. It's vitally important.
All right. And last but not least, the birthday boy.
Yes, sir.
This is Dr. Kevin Miles. He's got a whole pie right. Who gave you that pie?
It's a birthday pie. It's a birthday pie.
Why you don't put my secrets out there.
When's your birthday? It's public. We can talk about that with the birthday pie.
It's a birthday pie.
Yeah. Actually, the folks from
How old are you today?
55.
55 years old. Congratulations. How you feel?
I made it.
That's sort of a milestone to hit 55.
It is.
The Black man.
It is.
Well, in general, 55. You 5 years from 60.
Don't say it that way. I'm 5 years from 50.
You kind of sum up what we talked about today and what it means.
Really, organizing is something that has to be done person to person. And it requires that we invest time. It requires that we spend a considerable amount of time making sure that we are sharing power and building power and imparting capacity in communities for them to be able to handle issues on their own without feeling like we're trying to parachute in and be a savior. The best thing that we can do is take all of the tools that we've been exposed to and share those tools with another community so that they can go in and do the work on their own. And we've got to get back to that in terms of organizing as being the goal, as opposed to having the goal of having the flyest Instagram picture. Or, we've gotten to this place where a lot of activism is really a form of voyeurism. People show up where something terrible happened, or show up at a place where somebody got killed and take pictures in front of the monuments and put them on our social media and call that activism. And that is anything but activism. So this was an opportunity to really talk about what it looks like. If you're doing the work with your head down, maybe you don't get to be the rock star. Maybe you don't get your name on the news. But is it more important that we get to the goal, or more important that you shine personally?
How you feel about it? How does that rub you when he talks about that?
I think that's the real thing.
That's kind of what you do. You post a lot of yourself.
You see how he throws me under the bus, y'all? Yes, I do post a lot of myself because I'm cute, but it's also it's for business. It's for business as well. But it's true. And listen, we have to learn how to match energies, right? And unfortunately, we are in a C world first, and so we don't really are intellectualizing many things anymore. Yeah. So it's going to be a challenge for us to move forward and be strong in this space, but keep moving forward.
I guess we finished.
Moving forward.
I guess we finished. Y'all just walked away.
We gotta go.
Would y'all do that to Anderson Cooper? Would you just walk away from Anderson Cooper?
We gotta go. We gotta go.
Would you just walk away from Anderson Cooper if he was talking to you?
Thank you for watching Community First, you all.
Y'all wouldn't walk away, from Anderson Cooper. Happy birthday, brother.
All right.
Enjoy that. Y'all headed out? Yeah. You headed up the way. You going to New York?
Yeah.
hit me because I might just go and get on the train with y'all. So
Okay, 151. But we got to go get our stuff out.
okay, I might just do that then. That might make sense for me too. All right. Brittany, you still organizing in Buffalo? You doing stuff there?
No, so I've actually been gone from Buffalo for about 8 years. In
Okay, I know that.
2017, I moved to Maryland to run a Wellstone training program in partnership with Maryland Working Families. We trained about 600 first-time candidates, staffers, and organizers. As part of that whole blue wave that we were
Okay.
trying to make a thing. It was incredible work, and since then I've worked in the democracy space. I've worked on campaigns. Had the pleasure of spending 2018 in Georgia and in South Florida. Unfortunately, the organizing, we didn't win the election, but there was some definitely like some foundational inspiration, some ground that was laid for folks that are still doing the work. And that's what really matters, is even if we don't win the battle, we lay the foundation and we keep we leave the tools so that folks can continue to do the work after we leave.
So, are you working on any campaigns right now at the current time
I am.
in Maryland?
No, I'm working on a national race.
Oh, you're not at liberty to disclose, or
No. I'm working on the coordinated campaign to re-elect Joe Biden and Democrats on the ticket. Really
Okay,
excited
okay.
about it.
so you're fully on board.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about what's happening right now?
Oh,
Can you
that's not
talk-
a, that is
you
that's
can't
not
say
a thing. I am not a communications representative of the campaign. What I can say is that the work we are doing is so critical. I always use this analogy to get people to think about the work that we're doing. We are fighting two fights at the same time. We are fighting a fight for liberation so that we can be free and create the world that we want to see. And we're also fighting a fight to slow the poison of the systems that we are in. And so when we make decisions like this, these electoral campaigns, these shorter cycle fights, those are the fights where we slow the poison of the system so that we can continue to work and achieve the longer term goals that we need to in order to create the world we want to see. And so that's the work that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we have a world in which we at least have a playing field that we can fight on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't go back, y'all.
No, we can't. We can't.
It's
And
gonna
I think
it's
there's
gonna
a
be
lot
hell.
of there's a gap in understanding about how things like Project 2025 will impact all of us and just completely shift us back to honestly like the 1800s for many groups.
Yeah.
We're going to be in a place where we're going to be building from scratch. And that's a terrifying thing for me as a mom. It's a terrifying thing for me as a person of color. It is a terrifying thing for me as a woman. To think about the world that I have potentially brought my son into. And so the reason I come to this work is I do it to create a better world for my son so that he can further the legacy that I've laid down for him.
You know, someone said here that Project 2025 is now the most searched topic on
Amazing.
Google
Good.
just since the debate.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to be focused on. Other stuff people
Yeah.
focus on is
I
kind
mean,
of
I
stupid.
think people need to also know that they're preparing and they're pivoting to rebranding to Agenda 47, right? So we want to make sure that people understand that as people seek more understanding about Project 2025, the language will change in order to fool folks. So we have to stay on top of the tactics that are being employed to keep people confused and to keep them apathetic.
Mm-hmm. She's so smart, y'all. Y'all hear?
Thank you. I'm all right. I'm a teacher's kid, times two.
Yeah,
So,
that shows. That definitely shows. Brittany Baxter, good to see you. Thank you for having us.
it's a pleasure.
And
It was amazing to have you on the panel. We're gonna do it again next year.
I'd love to. I'd love to. Thanks for having us. Okay. And
Thank
God bless
you.
you. Keep up all the great work you're doing. Okay. Bless you, sister. Now she can't talk, y'all, but she said who she works for, so I think it's pretty clear. She ain't nobody doing all that hard work for something they don't believe in. So we need to get on program, y'all, and stop all this other foolishness. So God bless you. All right. And love to your son as well. How old is he now?
He will be 12. He's actually my GOTV baby. He's born on Halloween. So hoping we'll figure out where I am.
Okay.
We're gonna hang out and do a little bit of door knocking, figure out
okay.
what we're,
That's
I
wonderful.
like to raise the kid in the way they should go.
That's right. Amen. That's what you're doing it. You're doing it. Bless you, sister. Proud of you.
Right.
All right, folks. We are here at Netroots Nation live once again. Talking to a few folk about some of the things they're working on. We heard from the LGBTQ task force. We heard from Detention Watch, the Detention Watch Center. And I believe in a moment or two, we're going to be joined by some other individuals doing some very, very important immigration work. And we want to know and understand the importance of the work that they're doing and what they're dealing with. So yeah, we're just kind of waiting. I think our sister's going to join us in just a moment or two. We're going to see. But again, I hope you've been enjoying our broadcast. We try to come live here from Netroots pretty much every year when we can. And we've been fortunate to be able to do that. You heard about the panel I was on this morning. If you download the Netroots Nation app, you can read about that and keep up with that as well, and probably even see the panel that I was just on during the 9 o'clock hour. So yes, we are here. We will take a quick break. We'll come back and when our other guests are ready, we'll start a new stream. Thanks for joining us here live at Netroots Nation.